Today we're going to check out the features of the Rig-Headrush pedalboard. So welcome to my channel. I am Dr. McFarland, and if you want to be a more confident musician, consider subscribing to my channel, and don't forget to click on the bell icon so you'll get notified every time I release new content. So today I'm going to start a series on the features of the Rig-Headrush pedalboard. And I must admit that when I first got the pedalboard, I wasn't confused. It just took me a little while to get the settings figured out. But once I did, this thing sounds great. So first of all, we're going to be looking at just the blank screen here. And we're going to set up a new rig. And so what we have is we can put any kind of effect or amp or cab in any one of these effects blocks here. So I'm going to just click and we come up with this list of all kinds of things we can choose from. And I'm going to start off with an amp. I'm assuming that the 59, 64, 65, those are all Fender, Silverface, Blackface kind of amps. Let's just go with the black Vibe. Maybe it's a Vibrolux or just vibrato. I'm not quite sure, but I know it's going to sound good. So all right, and as you notice, here on the right side, we'll have all these different settings for volume, the vibrato speed and intensity, whether you want the bright on or off, the vibrato on or off, and then you got treble, mid, and bass. Okay, so let's just leave everything at 12 o'clock or 50%. If you want like a really clean tone, you can get that, but you're going to have to go to the output setting by double clicking on the out. And we're going to need to adjust the rig output and also the alternate output. So what I'm hooked up through right now, I have two XLRs coming out of the back of the Rig-Headrush into my PreSonus Studio Live mixing board. And this is how I'm recording everything into my computer right now. Guitarists may not know a whole lot about this, but in the audio world, you need to be very careful about gain staging. Okay, and what gain staging is basically just having the optimal level either going into your device or coming out of your device. So depending on what kind of guitar you're using, whether it's humbuckers or single coils, that's going to give you more output going into your first pedal or amp or whatever your signal chain is. And in this situation, we have a separate output for the rig, which is actually the 1/4 inch outs on the back, or you have alternate output, which is the XLR outputs. So I'm going to check the output here and just see what happens. So I'm going to play a little bit. Okay. So what I can do is, that is a pretty clean sound right there. And I could probably stand the turn up a little bit more. Alright. I'm thinking I went really clean right now, so I'm going to turn the volume down. Alright, very cool. So next thing I want to do, I'm actually going to delete the cab. And I'm going to put a custom IR, because I downloaded a bunch of IRs. If I double click on this, I have all these files here that you can see for me to choose from. I have some Royer 121 kind of stuff. I got a PR30. Here's some 414. And these file names can get pretty long, so I edited them on my computer so that way when I get into the Rig-Headrush I can see everything a little bit better. But let's just go with the Royer kind of thing. And what I have here is I have the cap, and I have cap edge, then you have cap edge off axis, right, 2 inches away. I have the cone and then the cone edge. So the cap is actually the very center of your speaker, and then the cone is the outer part of your speaker. So there's a lot of different places you can put that microphone on a real physical speaker. And so let's say we're going to put the Royer 121 2 inches from the cap. Okay, let's just go with that. So okay, and right away we got a lot louder. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about gain staging. Is before you add all these pedals or whatever else, make sure your amplifier and your speaker volume is the right level. So okay, see how we're hitting into the orange and then also into the red just a little bit? Alright, so what I can do is I can turn down my speaker volume. And then once I get that to a reasonable level, then I can also start turning down my rig volume here. And try to dig in a little bit because you'll notice that when I play hard, I get into the yellow, but when I play light, I'm still in the green a good amount. So you want plenty of headroom, especially when you're dealing with digital levels. Okay. And there's also a master volume on this that you can control the overall volume. But what we're dealing with right now is the internal levels of how the gain staging works inside the board. So I'd say we got that down pretty good. So we have a good Fender amp. With a Celestion speaker. I think it's a GM12 or something like that. So, alright. So next thing we can do is let's go ahead and add a reverb. So we go to reverb and delay. And there's all kinds of different options here. If you look at the air verb, you got a lot of the same options that you would get with maybe your like H9s or timelines or big skies. Really a lot of the same kind of stuff. So let's say I'm just going to do a hall reverb. So okay, we can adjust the size. See here it gets shorter. Okay, you can also adjust the decay time. And this time is okay, so you see that the time is set to infinity now. You might not want infinity just yet, but the option is there. Let's just make around 3 seconds. You can also adjust the color, which is a high pass, actually a low pass roll off. That's pretty important when you're dealing with reverbs, because sometimes you don't want a whole lot of high end on there. And then we can also adjust the overall mix. Alright. It's not too bad. Alright, so that's just one of many reverbs that we can choose. Let's go ahead and do a delay. And then I'm going to do a Bucket Brigade delay. And let's just make a, it doesn't really matter because I'm just make it a default. make it longer or shorter by adjusting the delay time. We can adjust the feedback. And really think of 50% as 12 o'clock. So anything above 50% is going to be more in your face. Anything below 50% is going to be in the background. So and that would be true if I was actually adjusting the mix time. So I was adjusting the feedback at that point. But let me turn the mix down. Alright, very cool. What I like to do is, there's also these other settings here. You can adjust the input gain, which if you feel like your delay is a little, it drops in volume when you kick it in, you can compensate for that by adjusting the input gain. Then there's also a cool thing here called LFO speed, which is if you get that modulation kind of delay effect, that's the little warble thing that kind of happens. So we don't want too much warble, or you might not want any warble at all. It doesn't really matter. So let's listen to what that does. Rear, 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 rear. So that might be good to turn up the depth just to hear what the speed is doing, and then turn down the depth to kind of blend it in to the part. So all right, that's pretty good. And then we have a thing called sync off or on. And that's going to basically connect the delay to the tap tempo. So when you tap your tempo in, okay, and that's pretty good for now. As you notice, when I set these sync to be on, I can now change my delay types. I can do a full bar, a half, 5/8, all these different options here. So if you know anything about fractions, a quarter is actually a quarter note delay. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, I could do an eighth. So this is going to be dot, 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 dot. Okay. Go ahead and add a distortion. And let's just do the green JRC, which is kind of like basically a tube screamer circuit. Let's do a smooth sound. Very cool. You can adjust the high tone. Like I said before, 50% is usually 12 o'clock. And you want to match the level either at neutral or maybe just above neutral, so you get a little more push to the front of the amp. The drive to kind of clean it up a little bit, kind of brighten it up with the tone. All right, very cool. let's go ahead and, I don't know, let's do some modulation. I don't use tons of modulation in my rigs normally, but we have it here. So for instance, let's just say we put in a phaser. Default sync. So I like my phasers, flangers, any kind of filter effects before my drives. So check this out. We can take the green tube screamer and move it around over here. So now my phaser is before the overdrive. So okay. And we have this rate set to so I can turn the sync off and just adjust the rate like that. You can make it really slow. Or you can have the sync on. If you're playing a part that, you know, you think needs to be in sync with the song. So that's pretty cool. I like that. And every time you add an effect in the block here, it shows up to a correlating foot switch. Let's say we do, let's just do one more. Let's do a distortion. And I like the DC distort. Let's do a smooth crunch. And let's move that after the tube screamer. Let me turn off some of these just so you can hear. And we have a treble and a bass feature on here. And my motto is when you're setting controls for overdrive that the more gain, the less bass you need. So, because you really don't want to muddy up your sound with a lot of bass. So let's see what that sounds like. There's the bass all the way off. But at the same time, you also want to match your clean tone. Whatever bass response your clean amp has, you kind of want your pedal just to be at least that much, if not just a little bit less. So and you can say the same thing for the treble knob. You kind of want to match your amp's clean tone, because if you go from this clean tone to like a really over the top distortion, it may not sound all that natural, which is maybe not what you want. Maybe it is what you want. It really doesn't matter. It's very subjective when setting your levels, but this is just a rule of thumb that I always look at when I set overdrive, distortion type effects, and this sounds pretty good to me. Alright, I'm liking this a lot. Let's just show you, for example, you could add an expression. We can do a black wall. So you see right here it says A, and then we can also do an expression for volume, and that's going to give us a B mode. So you can push your heel, or you can push your toe down on the expression pedal here, and you can switch back and forth between your wall and your volume and just still have that one expression pedal, which is really, really nice. I like that a lot. So I have my heel down, and now my toe is down. And then if I go back to the A, and you can always switch in between back and forth like that. So this is a really basic setup for me. Just a good clean amp. That's pretty much it for this video. If you have any questions, be sure to comment down below, and feel free to subscribe once again. So until next time, I am Dr. McFarland. Hope you have a great day and keep rocking. See ya.